Right.
or people have strong opinions. I mean, we've been playing Diablo since the 90s, right?
Wait, what?
Exactly.
On the internet, people have strong opinions?
Fox just had a podcast where they brought Rod Ferguson on from Diablo 4 to talk about Season 3 and some of the upcoming updates, including the Gauntlet. They actually leaked the Gauntlet launch date during this podcast, so it's been officially announced, and I cut right to the part because the first 15, 20 minutes of it was just discussing what the season is and stuff we already know. It's basically a promo for the game. But then they actually start getting into some new news, and they start talking about some of the feedback people have been sending about Season 3. So I got to the interesting bit. Haven't seen all of this yet. Let's go.
All that cool loot. But one of the biggest,
there you go, right there. So if you didn't see it, that is the Gauntlet.
Another stash tab to players.
Right
so
here, February 13th.
Continue to collect all that cool loot.
Right here. Prepare for the Gauntlet. Launches February 13th. So we're talking in just a week here, the Gauntlet will be out.
One of the big things for us for Season 3 was something we've been wanting to do since launch, which is leaderboards. It's something that's not there today, but on February 13th, we're going to be updating the game, and we're going to be releasing this feature called the Gauntlet. And the Gauntlet is a dungeon that has fixed placement every week. So it's a different dungeon every week, but during that week, it stays exactly the same.
So if you're not familiar with what he's saying, basically the new dungeon leaderboard system it's sort of like challenge rifts from D3, only you get to use your own build. So it's the same for everybody. You get to repeat it over and over again, and they're based upon classes. So druids compete against druids, barbarians against barbarians, etc.
The monsters are all the same. They're in the same location. And it's just a way for people to go through and try to get the highest score possible. And as they do that, then they'll get posted on the leaderboards. And then they can compete against their friends. There's a friends leaderboard. There's a clan leaderboard. There's a class leaderboard. Am I the best barbarian? There's also like parties of 2, 3, and 4. So you'll all get to see
It'll
where
be kind
your
of cool
rank
to
is
see
in the
parties,
world,
actually.
or against your friends in terms of how you're going through the gauntlet. And so we know
there's rewards.
leaderboards has been a big thing, especially in Diablo 3. And so we're really excited that in February 13th, we'll be able to bring that leaderboard feature back.
Could be fun for really fine-tuning your build as well, and being like, oh, was I able to get a higher score, get through faster?
Totally.
Yeah.
My number one thing in Diablo 3 always was, like, if I showed up a little bit late for a season, I would just go to the leaderboard, look at number 1, and say, what did they do? And then I'm like, I'm now looking for that gear. I'm now looking for that, to set my skills the same and that kind of stuff. So it is a great way to learn, but it's also a challenge because it really puts... one of the things that's hardest about Diablo, because it's such a deep game, and with 5 different classes and all the different builds and all the combination of skills and all the combination of loot, that keeping it balanced is a real challenge. And so that this really puts that balance like front and center, because you can see it in the leaderboard. If like Season 2, it was awesome to be a ball of lightning sorceress because you knew that you were going to dominate. Yeah, exactly. And so, when we look at that, we have to go, okay, it's really fun, but how does that work on the leaderboards now?
Right.
And so that's something that we're going to have to, it's going to be an interesting challenge over Season 3.
I would imagine it's an interesting challenge all the time in that, millions of people play Diablo 4, they may have their particular favorite build that may not be considered part of the meta, or they might not like farming for this part, or people have strong opinions. I mean, we've been playing Diablo since the 90s, right?
Wait, what?
Exactly.
On the internet, people have strong opinions?
Here we go. They're going to get into the feedback now for Season 3, I'm sure.
Look, the way I look at it is... it's better than silence, right? It's good to hear. But I do wonder how you and the team think about, okay, is there a there, or is it a small group of, people that are incredibly loud? Like, how do you take all of this input? Because I'm sure it's very hard to make everybody happy, but to make the best decisions for the game and to tweak it without, creating a new set of people that might feel aggrieved because this changed and they love this thing.
He's basically asking, like, how serious are you taking this feedback, It's
a mixture of things. Like, you basically have to take quantitative and qualitative, and what I mean by that is, like, we have lots of data on how people play. We have lots of data on what the kind of damage output a class can do, or kills per second kind of thing that we track. And we also do surveys, and we also do focus groups and roundtables, and then we have that sort of qualitative, which is like, how does it feel to us? How does it feel based on the social media response or the sentiment amongst the players? And then you kind of have to mix all that together and look at it and kind of work through what's the right decision. And then ultimately, it was something we learned a lot, honestly, going from preseason to Season 1, is that we started in a very when you're in development, up to that point, all the balancing we were doing was during development. We were just trying to make the most balanced game we could. And so when we had our first real big balance adjustment going into season 1, we kind of focused on just the purity of the balance and not necessarily what players were considering to be the most fun thing to do at the time, which in a game like Diablo, kind of the most fun thing to do is to kind of feel like you're cheating or you're slightly overpowered, or you feel like you found a loophole in the rule system or whatever, much like the ball lightning sork. Like, we know that there's no way that sork should be that powerful, but at the end of the day, we decided, people are having a lot of fun, and if people don't want to take advantage of that, they can play another class or another build if they want to.
Yeah, which is
so it was really sort of learning this idea, and we kind of got down to, I call it the Mary Poppins strategy, which was, the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down, and so we recognized that, hey, if for whatever reason, we might have to nerf something a little bit, much like if trying to maintain the balance for the leaderboards, as an example, that make sure there's enough sugar there, enough fun there, that we're trading something for something potentially even more fun. And I think we kind of stumbled a little bit going into season 1. It was all medicine and not enough sugar, and now we're trying to find that balance, and we continue to do that with each season of like, okay, what's the right thing to do for the game in terms of the balance and for the players. And do we have enough sugar there to make sure that our priority is our players having fun, as opposed to, oh, this is a perfectly balanced system? Because at the end of the day...
So basically, I guess what he's saying here is like the sugar for season 3 was the fact that they upped the loot and the damage of the pets. Like the pets actually do some more damage now, and that the vaults effectively have enough rewards that you can immediately see the response from people like, I'm loving the vaults now. There's so many more rewards. Doesn't necessarily fix the medicine part of it, which is like the vaults are sort of repetitive, et cetera. They aren't kind of the in-game loot people are looking for, but people like the vaults so much more because they just jam so much rewards in there. I mean, that's basically what I'm hearing from this.
It's kind of, with that much variety of class and skills and loot, you'll never have a perfectly balanced system, so you just want to have a fun balanced system.
I think that's a great way to put it. I'm just trying to think of other Mary Poppins references. The game is super califragilistic. No, definitely not going to be.
Talking about being a chimney sweep or something?
Yeah. My mind did go there, and that was a cul-de-sac, to be honest. But I'm glad that you do land on fun, because, I mean, this is something that we've been having fun with for decades as a whole. And so, Rod, I love that someone who's been with us as a fan is now the GM of Diablo, or has been now for a few years. So it feels like things are in good hands, and that you're listening, and that's appreciated as a player. So thanks so much for that, and thanks so much for joining us here on the Xbox Podcast.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think if players haven't jumped in yet, I know some people are not used to.
Looks like they're wrapping up into like a plug
in a role playing game, and so it's kind of a known thing in action role playing games, and so it takes a little bit. But season 3 is a great time to jump in if you haven't. One of the things is, if you've already beaten the story campaign, there's actually an option when you create a character to skip the campaign. And even if you haven't, all you have to do is play the prologue, which is maybe an hour, and then you can say skip the rest. I just want to get into the seasonal play. So. And what I like about season 3 for new players is just that idea of getting that construct, that having that person who can help draw fire or can protect you. Like, so if you're a new player and you're like, I don't know if I'm hardcore enough, which you don't have to be, or I know enough about Diablo, which you don't, like everything you need to know about Diablo lore is in the game. But this is a great time to jump in. So I really hope people, come and play season 3 with us. And it's live now, so why not hop in?
Very cool. And how do folks get in touch with, if they have things they'd love to share with you all? What's the best way to do that? Probably not your personal.
What's the best way?
Yeah, I was going to say, are you setting me up for like a Twitter? No, there's a number. We have a forums. If you go to blizzard.com, we have our blog. Like, that's one of the things we do all the time, is we're always updating our blog with patch notes. We're kind of updating the game as much as it needs to be. So, we can do hot fixes where we just fix things on the server that doesn't require a patch, and we do that, pretty regularly, especially at the beginning of a season. And I should really call out our developer updates and our campfires. So one of the things we try to do, and that was another thing we sort of learned going into season 1, is we wanted to be sort of talking more to the players, and even in a more casual way, like because we had these developer updates and we felt like we could only really do them when we had these formal announcements of some big thing, like like what we did for season 3. We had to do, a week or so ago, we did the big, here's the developer update for season 3. But we wanted to have these things we call campfire chats, or just really have the ability for the developers to talk to the players about what's going on, what are we hearing, what are we thinking, or
I like having the common campfires
that's flying around that we need to deal with, and so it's really been trying to find additional ways to be able to talk to the players. So I hope people can tune in on like Twitch and YouTube and all that to get to hear what's going on.
Very cool. Thanks a lot, Rod. Now I'm going to just change my clothes and send it back to me.
Okay, so they sort of wrap it up here, and let's wrap it up with our thoughts. So in terms of new news, what we got out of it was the Gauntlet was on the 13th is when this will be launched. The Gauntlet will be the same dungeon repeated for everybody, but you can bring your own build. It will also be separated by class. We got a sneak peek of the reward, look like some cosmetics in the little cache. We'll have to see what's in the cache as well. Party systems of 2, 3, and 4 you can do as well. They also kind of set him up to be able to maybe laugh off some of the feedback where it was like, hey, the vocal minority, are these people just being loud? And he didn't go down and make excuses for that side of it, which I was glad to see. It wasn't just like, yeah, they're just a vocal minority, and you just got to deal with it. It's part of making a game. Like, they kind of actually addressed that, hey, they learned from the previous seasons, and then when they do something that people don't like, they got to sort of mix in the medicine, the sugar analogy, for instance. So it's always encouraging to see that. I do like to see him talking about the focus is on the fun of it. Because, to be honest, when they add stuff in the game that just purely isn't fun, that turns a lot of people off, and then that ends up seeing some of the response that we see in terms of the feedback, etc. So making the game more fun is probably a good way to go about it. Although, you don't have to go so much about shallow funness. It's like fun can derive from a different quantity of things. So, for instance, crafting, like diving into making an item really what you want can be a satisfactory way to play the game. And you can get fun from satisfaction of development of your character as well. So I think depth of gameplay can also generate fun, but just more of an investment into the fun as the player that then pays out in fun quantities at the end, if that makes sense too. So that'd be my 1 point I'd add onto that. But that's about it. Love you all. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about the clip of it. I didn't put all of it because the first half of it was basically just a promo for the game. And I will see you guys on the next video and the live stream today.